prophecies are sold, taking every dream and making it whole.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fan Boss Frequency. My name is Chris. I'm your host, and man, it is great to be here all over again, and I always enjoy getting to spend time with my favorite folks in the world. So anybody who will take time out of their busy day to come visit me and hang out, by all means, I'm going to bring the goods today. I'm going to give you what you're looking for, and we're going to have a blast. So this week was all about products and kind of what the business was all about. And I had some fun kind of introducing some of those concepts. So today we're going to introduce a new segment called Hot Takes. And it's basically, things that kind of get on my nerves and why they get on my nerves. But it's all kind of centered around the same thing. And then we're going to delve into the power of the family business. And then I'm going to get a little personal with you and pull back the curtain on the last segment. And we're going to discuss a little bit about when you're in a funk, how do you get out of that? Because, look, that's part of life. We talked about it before. The business doesn't wait for you to show up. It's there whether you're there or not. So when you want to bring your best to the table, by all means, let's make sure we're knocking that out. So make sure you visit our website, thefanboss.com. That's thefanboss.com. That's going to give you access to sponsors, to some phenomenal deals that you won't get anywhere else. And it'll give you the ability to check out some of the shows you may have missed in the past. If you're old school like me and want to leave a message, by all means, I've got a message hotline. That's 855, the number 4 podcast, 855, the number 4 podcast. And, tell us what you like, what you don't like, what you'd love to see on the show, or just leave me a message about your experience with something we've discussed here today. So looking forward to the show. So let's get started, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Fan Boss Frequency. Welcome back to Hot Takes. This is our new segment here on the Fan Boss Frequency, and Hot Takes is kind of some news and things that have happened in the news this week, and I'm gonna give you my take on them. And this week we did a lot of product spotlights, and we learned a lot about different things and what DCCI has to offer, and that professional consulting space that I operate under. I just want to kind of share what it is that we do and really why it works. So. The first, and this kind of set me off a little bit. Dash cams are convicting evil, and I've got 2 of these stories. Well, actually more than that, but 2 of these that I actually posted on my Facebook this week, and it just makes you go, deep in your mind. You're like, what makes people do this? What makes them think it's a great idea? So, the first story is Christina Spicuzza. I believe I'm saying her name correctly, but she was a mother of 4 and an Uber driver trying to feed her kids with the doggone family car out there, driving folks around. And, a lot of folks do that. And so Calvin Crew booked an Uber using his girlfriend's phone to hide himself. For what reason? Who knows? So 18 minutes into the ride, he grabbed her ponytail, pressed a gun in the back of her head, and she pleaded, "I've got 4 kids, I'm begging you." And her dash cam's recording every second. Once he realized there was a dash camera involved, he ripped it off the window and ripped it off the windshield and threw it out the window. And he thought it was gone. So police were able to recover the footage, and they were able to get a conviction based on the footage. He was sentenced to life in prison in May of 2025. Now, that dash cam that her fiance bought her to protect her, it didn't stop what happened, but it made damn sure Calvin Crew will never do it to another family. That's what it's all about. I'm very passionate about this side of the business because I know that, it's different when you say, well, this is what happened, or we can only, think and paint you a picture based on what we think we know. But when you're playing that footage for the jury in an open court and people see what actually happened and they don't have to imagine, because your imagination is different from mine, it takes it to a whole new level. So the images that were shared with the story, were just horrific. And those were the images. That wasn't the actual dash cam footage. But with dash cam footage in that situation, you were able to really be there in the moment. Now, the next story I'm going to share with you, this is kind of still developing. And as of the recording of this podcast, there hasn't been an end to this. But back in December of 2025, FedEx driver delivering Christmas presents to 7-year-old Athena Strand's home essentially put her on the truck and murdered her. And when the camera inside the FedEx truck captured him loading her into the vehicle. There's a chilling picture of her standing upright. He's driving the truck. It appears he's whistling in this photo. I don't know if he is or not, but that's what it appears to be. And moments later, the camera was covered by the driver, and the audio was captured of her murder in the back of a FedEx truck. The interior footage led investigators directly to Horner and ultimately to finding Athena's body. This week, body cam footage shows him flipping between his personalities, calling himself Zero. He did plead guilty, and juries are now deciding whether it's the death penalty or life without parole. So the fleet camera inside that truck is the reason this family had any justice at all. It's not a coincidence. That's accountability. That FedEx truck was equipped with a dash camera to ensure that in the event of a crash or an incident, that they were able to prove or disprove their case one way or the other. Never thought, I'm sure, that one of their drivers would kidnap a kid. And there's a lot of things that go along with this story, but the fact that he was able to abduct this child and murder this child, and there's dash cam video and audio to go with it, according to the story, that's chilling. That's no longer painting a picture for a jury. That's experiencing the last moments of that 7-year-old little girl's life on this earth. And that is powerful. So when it comes to dash cams, doing their job, sometimes they work way better than intended. So the next story I've got, this just proves how stupid criminals can be. But 2 men from Pennsylvania drove to Manhattan with homemade bombs with the intention of killing 60 people or so at a protest. Their dash cam was running the entire time. Hours of footage. They discussed the plan, targets, method, all captured on their own footage. I just want to start terror, bro. That's a quote from their own dash cam. They didn't even realize they were recording themselves confessing on their own cameras. So 3 days of dash cam footage was evidence. Their own camera put them away. Think about that the next time someone says dash cams are a privacy invasion. Turns out bad guys forget they have cameras too, apparently. So it's kind of crazy. Now, there is some good news when it comes to the dash cam world. It's not all bad. So this is the side that rarely gets talked about, but I'm going to share it with you anyway. A Colorado woman was accused by police of stealing a package. They said it was a lock, 100%, done and done. See ya, bye. She used her Rivian's dash cam footage and GPS data to prove she was at her tailor, not at the crime scene. Charges were dropped. The person running from the camera wasn't even in a truck. Looked nothing like her. A trucker's dash cam saved him from a lying driver who changed lanes into him. The judge threw out the entire case. So accountability works both ways. A dash cam doesn't care who it helps. It just tells the truth. And sometimes the truth saves an innocent person from a system that got it wrong. So in the case for the woman with the Rivian and the dash camera, that's great technology. That's what you want. You want to ensure that you have, the upside when you're doing the right thing. And of course, I got into the dash camera business because I knew that juries are a lot more sympathetic to things they can see, touch, feel, and hold. And while you can't recreate a crime, if you've got evidence, if you can prove innocence or guilt, for that matter, with video, juries believe video. Bottom line. It's hard to argue with. You can get a security guard to drive around for people to be a witness every day, but then what's their intent? You got to feed them. Maybe they show up late. Maybe they have an attitude. Maybe they don't. But the technology is such that it allows for businesses to, keep an eye on their employees, protect their employees most importantly, and protect their business at the end and try to keep costs low. Because let me tell you, man, a lawsuit ain't nothing about a lawsuit cheap. And at the end of the day, all people really want is to do their job and go home and be protected. So that's my hot take this week. I hope you enjoyed that. Stick around. I've got more show for you to come. Welcome back to the Fan Boss Frequency. Do you know we have a website? It's called thefanboss.com. That's right, thefanboss.com. reach over there, check out other episodes, check out our sponsors. Yes, we have sponsors, amazing sponsors, as a matter of fact. The best sponsors you've ever seen because they love our show and they love us. So make sure you visit those sponsors. Let them know how much you like what they got going on. Show them a little support. Show them some love. We appreciate that for sure. If you'd like to leave a comment, visit our listener hotline at 855-4-podcast. That's 855-4-podcast. Leave us a message there. Might even play it on the show one day. So we just wrapped up a busy week. We'll call it the weekend review. We posted 5 episodes this week that really kind of delved into who we are and what we do. And I wanted to kind of do a quick recap. If you would like to go back and listen to each episode individually, absolutely, by all means, please do. A lot of good information there, and hopefully it's good stuff for you to hear. But Monday we covered the DCCI Difference, and it's more than just a slogan. It's really a culture we've built here. I watched a movie years ago with the late Steve Jobs, and one of the things that he was maniacal about was processes, presentations, and all the things in between. What was the end user getting? And that's something I've always kind of been a fan of, because anybody can sell anything. Anybody can do anything that they put their mind to, but are they doing it with a spirit of excellence? Are they doing it in such a way that makes sense to the end user? And what kind of experience are they giving the customer on the end of their product and service? What are they getting? What are they expecting? So the integrity, durability, relationships, and all that fun, those are all things that are important to us, and we're built to last. We have vendors that we solidify partnerships with, and when things change and they don't meet our minimum standards and we know they're not going to be a good fit for our clientele, that's why we are consultants. When things change and the market changes, we change and pivot with the market, and sometimes we have to help our clients offload from an old provider to something new, and that's what we're here for. It can cost us time, money, and resources, but at the end of the day, we've built that relationship with our clientele, so we think that's important. So that kind of talked about the DCCI difference and how we do business and how we see things. Tuesday was a little bit more fun. It was about walkie-talkies and the two-way radios and the building communications. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You can walk yourself to death in most places trying to find people, period. And if it's a large, like a school campus or university or a hospital, somewhere that has lots of rooms, multiple floors, things of that nature, two-way radios are an absolute necessity, because you can 1,000% run yourself to death. Even a place as simple as a restaurant that has a front of the house, a back of the house, and some parking lot space, radios are an incredible tool for those places to coordinate everybody, to keep everybody on the same page, period, exclamation point. We love that. And then Wednesday, we took it on to the POC, push to talk over cellular. POC, not Tupac, but POC, push to talk over cellular, POC. These are the radios that work off of the network. You can use them on your Wi-Fi, cellular. All you got to do is get to the internet. It'll get to the server and back. And these little devices, man, they are a game changer. It puts everybody on the same page. And these are very versatile pieces of equipment. You can have 1,000 of them, distributed through, 10 plants and, lots of departments and 100 groups and, all the crazy things. We can develop all that and develop it for your business and make it work for your business. That's the whole point. So it's great for anyone who has crews that don't work in an office, HVAC, electricians, security companies, schools, school buses. There's a lot of opportunity there when it comes to building out the communications piece with those devices. And what's so great about that is when you press the button that one time and you key it up for the first time, you're going to get a situation where everyone is informed.
Link up with the show. Visit thefamboss.com to learn more about the show, host, and guests. Also find our archive there from shows you may have missed in the past. You can leave a message on our listener hotline at 855-4-podcast. That's 855-476-3227.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Chris, your host, and man, oh man, let me tell you, it's been a busy week for us around here, and nothing like wrapping up the week with an awesome podcast. So that's what we're here for today. We're here to wrap it up, send you off on your way, and this will be the one for the weekend. So that's my paper stacking. We come prepared. We're not around here just figuring this stuff out at the top of our head. So before we kind of go any further, I want to talk about something that does not get enough credit in the business media. Not just regular media, social media, fill in the blank, in the media just in general. Every week you hear about startups.
This is the Fan Boss Frequency, tuning in the spirit of the family truth. We scale the peaks and navigate the tides with the strength of generations of our guides. Home is the office and the office is our soul, taking every dream and making it whole.
Welcome back to the Fan Boss Frequency. This is Chris again. I'm going to line up for another one here. So I tell you what, one thing that's really been on my mind lately, I go through these bouts of, there's a little bit of stress here and some of these things there. And I want to share something kind of personal with you in this segment. I had lunch with my pastor yesterday and I had a couple of revelations and I want to share some of these things. And maybe this is something that you run into yourself. I'm not sure. But my 2026 started off with a bang. My brother passed away January 2nd, quite unexpectedly, I might add, and it threw us all into a tailspin for sure. It was a very difficult time for my mother for a lot of reasons. Alex was special needs. I always used to joke, he's like a big 7-year-old. You know what I mean? We always had a blast. I loved hanging out with him and spending time with him. And, for somebody who, could barely, read and, he struggled with writing a little bit, he could text, I tell you what. But we kind of struggled with his loss. It was, like I said, it was completely out of left field. We had no idea what was coming. It just really kind of threw us all for a loop. And what's ironic was I lost a mentor last summer unexpectedly, very much the same way. That was a phone call, Tommy's passed away, and that just floored me. So getting over that still, and then, the loss of my brother was a lot. It's a lot to really take on. And so right after all that, I went to my cardiologist. I'd done, some nuclear stress test and echocardiogram, all, stuff we do. We're going to try to take you off some medicines and so on and so forth. That's cool, whatever. Didn't get the report that I was looking for during that. So I essentially had to go for another heart cath to kind of see what was going on. And so it kind of, when I left that appointment, it was very much a doom and gloom situation because I'd worked so hard, I thought, to do better. And the reality was, after I left there, I felt terrible. Like, I'm on death's door. And that's how I was made to feel when I was there. And it was just, giving me the information and the facts as they were. And so, after that, I guess it was the Friday after I got the bad news, I like to call it. I just started kind of praying a lot. And, I've lost my brother. Now I'm going through this health scare. I'm not scared to die. I'm afraid of what I'm leaving behind because I've got a wife and 2 kids. And, one of them's mostly grown and the other one, he's getting there. So the point I'm driving at was, my fear was if something happens to me, then fill in the blank. So I started manifesting things in my life that were very negative, and I slowed down kind of going to church. Now I want you to understand, when I went to church, when I started going back to church, I went to, my son was going to a youth program at a local church, and he enjoyed it, and his girlfriend at the time was going. So I'm like, that's the rub. Okay, I got it. I get it now. Okay, that's what's going on. They broke up and he still went, and he leaned in a little closer, and then he started playing guitar, and they went from playing guitar to, I want to be baptized. So we went to the church to check it out and see what's what. And, I passed by this church 1,000 times in my lifetime. Seriously. I mean, it used to be 7 minutes door to door from my old house. Drove past it all the time, morning, noon, and night. Never once. I watched it, I watched them build this church, literally build this church. and I've never been in. So now I'm walking in for the first time. And then we go in and we visit, and I'm like, wow, I love this place. And so going on Sundays wasn't enough anymore. So then I started going to, we had a men's Bible study on Tuesday morning. So then I started going to that. I'm like, all right, cool. And then they're like, hey, would you like to play with the youth on Wednesday nights, play drums? I'm like, yeah, that'd be cool. So then I kind of got my feet wet with, praise and worship, with the youth group. And, I was playing drums and kind of learning how all that worked. And then I was invited to, hey, would you like to play on Sunday? I was like, yeah, sure. That'd be great. I didn't understand at the time. We only had one drummer. And, that's a lot. It's a lot of work to learn 5 songs. And remember, I was learning 2 songs a week. And this was music I had never heard before I started going to church. And I don't know who Chris Tomlin is. I don't know who Maverick City and all. I had no idea. So I really immersed myself in the music. And every week when I would, we'd have new songs at church, I'd put on my playlist. And that's how I learned the music. And that's all I listened to for a solid year. And then, so that went from I'd never went to church to now I'm going Sundays, going to Tuesday morning Bible study, Wednesday night with the, with the youth group. And that was a blast, by the way. The first time my son ever stood on stage and prayed over the youth, I was 10 feet away from him. That's powerful. And when you look at what God has done in my life, it's amazing. And then you turn around and now I'm going Thursday night for rehearsals to play, on Sundays. And of course, Sunday, the weeks I play, I get to enjoy the service twice. You know what I mean? So it was just such an amazing thing. I went from nothing to, I'm at the church 5 nights a week or 5 days out of the week. And that was just never on my radar. So, last summer with the business being busy and on all the things that have been kind of jumping off, I played a lot on Sundays, which I loved. And I made the decision to, step back from, working with the youth. And they were able to recruit drummers and so forth. And that's the whole point of the youth program is to have, it's for the youth. You want, a youth praise and worship team, the youth to kind of run it and do their own thing and have a blast and put their own spin on things. But when I tell you that our youth program is phenomenal, it's like Sunday, but it's Wednesday night for the kids. They have an activity, they praise and worship like we do on Sundays. And then, of course, there's a message and then small group. It's amazing. And so I stepped back from that so they could kind of, start building that a little bit, which they've done. They've done an amazing job of building that praise and worship team for the youth. And then our book club kind of changed a little bit. The structure changed a scotch. And so I said, I really appreciate it, guys. But man, 5:30 I'm out. I can't do that. With my schedule being what it is and all the things that I'm required to do, I step back. And so now that's 2 days out of the week. So now I'm down to, and at the time, like I said, I was, doing a lot of praise and worship team on Sundays. So, and loving it, having a blast with it. And I think I sewed together several months in a row and I loved it, but it was a lot. And again, I'm still learning, it's easier because I've learned more songs now, but now I'm learning new on top of that. I'm still building my, my library. So that was awesome. And then, I kind of, when all this stuff happened with my brother, I kind of stepped back a little bit and, kind of to regroup. And then with the health stuff, I'm like, I'm going to step back a little more. And so then I went from never missing a week at church and being there 5 days a week to I had a couple of months this year, and then we're only in April, but I had a couple of months where I just didn't go. And I'll watch it online. And I didn't. And so I started having a lot of difficulty in my personal life and in my business. And all of these things that weren't problems 6 months ago are now problems. And I have a new set of problems every day, it seems like. And I was talking to my pastor yesterday, and I said, do you see, I asked him, is there a correlation between my distance from the church and the struggles that I'm having? I'm really struggling with grief right now. I'm struggling with surviving some days. Like I said, I've got great news now with my new cardiologist. And I'll find out Monday where we're at, but so far so good. And I feel better, but I manifested all these negative things in my life. And when I got the good news that we're not thinking that you're gonna have to have another heart cath. I'll do it if you want, but you don't. I don't think you need that. Let's do this testing just to make sure, that you're good. And so I've gone through all the testing. So I said all that to kind of say this: I manifested a lot of negativity in the weeks after the bad news I got from the doctor, because I knew in my heart, well, this is going to be a problem, or I'm going to have to worry about this and that. And you get where I'm going with this. It was always just something just negative. And I built a lot of that up in my mind, like, oh, if this is it, what if this is the end? And, it's a stark, reversal from where I came back from when I came home from the hospital. For whatever time I got left, I'm going to give it 110% every single day, and that's it, bottom line. I'm not going to sit here and worry about what's going to come down the pike. I mean, God's got me covered. I know that. I believe that God has a plan for my life. And if he didn't, I'd have been dead back when I was 40, 4.5 years ago, and I had my heart attack. I survived a widowmaker. That's powerful. But beyond surviving the widowmaker, I knew there was an opportunity left. There was something that God wanted me to do. I went from not being a member of a church to having one of the best church families I could have ever asked for. I've met so many amazing people at this church, people that are in my community, people that I've probably run into just, in passing, but would have never met otherwise. So one of the other things that it's kind of brought to me, I've made friends with people that I would have never thought I would have been friends with because I didn't know who they were. And once you get to know people and you remove the intimidation, and then you get to know who they are and what's in their heart. And by the way, we all want the same things. We want what's best for the world. We want to bring people to Jesus. We want people to know that there is a purpose for their life, and we want to live in community with others. And we want to do what it is God wants us to do. We want to advance the kingdom of God. And that's the whole point of what we do. And when you realize that you're put on this earth for a purpose and that God has a plan for you, it's amazing. It's something it's bigger than anything I could have ever imagined. If you'd have told me 10 years ago, hey, you're going to be back in the church, you're going to be doing this, I don't need all that. I just don't. I've been to churches. It's whatever. I can read the Bible. I understand. But it's something that we need. And I can tell you, since I've kind of stepped back, I can see a difference in my life. And I've got to put back the things that are important in play in my life. And instead of saying, well, I don't have time for this, I need to do that. No, I need to make time for that. I need to make time to sit down and read my Bible. I need to make time to study something from the kingdom of God that's going to make me better every day. I need to do something today that my future self will thank me for. And stop making excuses. And if I'm talking to you right now, you know I'm right. Everything we do is a choice. It's easy to sit there and watch another episode of Fill in the Blank on Paramount Plus. It's easy to, start scrolling through the videos on your phone. It's real easy to not do what you're supposed to do because that requires work and effort. There's some days I wake up in the mornings and I'm like, man, I feel terrible. My body hurts, this and that. I mean, I got all the excuses under the sun. But I know there's somebody out there that doesn't have 2 working legs and 2 arms, and I got it 1,000 times better than they do. 1,000%. So, when I used to listen to Rick and Bubba, they used to, who's got it better than us? And it's funny I adopted that because it's true. I remember a couple of weeks ago, I guess it was last weekend actually, I said, I'm going to go ahead and put Yacht Rock on the old such and such. Like, oh, I hate it. My kids are kind of making fun of me about it. Christopher specifically. And I'm like, man, I am glad I have built a life for my kids where Yacht Rock is just, that is the end all be all. That's the hill I'm willing to die on. Because that means we have overcome hunger, starvation, mumps, homelessness. Like we've accomplished a lot of things if that's the thing you're just willing to die on. You know what I mean? So I say that kind of tongue in cheek, but we have really built and grown an incredible life. And it's not that we have done it. God has blessed us. And so who am I to deny God that, to give him his time? It's not about putting money in the plate on Sundays. It's not about, being seen, shall we say. A lot of people talk the talk, but do you walk the walk? And there's a lot of things in my life that I'm grateful for. Second chance for sure. I look at things a lot differently now. And one of the things that I've learned going to this church, and we discussed it at length yesterday, is meeting people where they're at. You can't expect people just to come to you. You have to go to them. It's very simple. And it's not just in the biblical world or in life. I mean, that's really, I guess you would say life in general. I've got a couple of clients we've been working with, and they've been having some difficulty with certain aspects of business, shall we say. And, paying their bill on time has kind of been a struggle. And no matter what we do, it seems to, why do the same thing and expect a different result? That's insanity. So I'm like, what can we do to make this work? Or how can we better accommodate fill in the blank? And it's funny how when you ask someone, someone who's angry, talk to me about why you're angry, and you get a better understanding. Same thing. I'm trying to judge less and give more and understand what those people are going through in those different aspects of my life. So instead of getting frustrated with somebody because they pay their bill late, or instead of getting frustrated with somebody because they cut me off in traffic, or instead of getting irritated because the lady at the restaurant brought me, the incorrect drink or whatever, I try to understand, like, maybe they're having a bad day. What can I do to make their day better? I like to talk to people, which is obvious, but I think what I get out of that the most is how can I make someone's day better? Because you never know what people are going through. It's a tough world we live in. I mean, just the things we talked about in the first segment, it ain't all bad, but it's a tough world we live in. So my advice to you is that if things in your life have been complicated, if you've been struggling for any reason, ask yourself, is it because I have distanced myself from God? And if you have, that's okay. One thing that's important to note, when you're going through tough times, God is right there by your side. When you're going through good times, He's right there by your side too. He's always with you. But you got to ask. That was my big takeaway. So if you feel like your life is kind of spiraling out of control, it probably is. If you wake up every day feeling terrible, just like, speak positive things into your life. When I found out the good news, instantly I felt better. I started speaking, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. One of the reasons I started this podcast was because I'm like, well, for whatever time I have left on this earth, I want to share my experience with those who may be able to get something from it. And if I can help one person, it's time well spent. By the way, I spend a lot of time on these podcasts, but I enjoy it. And I hope that I'm helping others. It's part of my, help others thing. But the point I'm driving at is with all of this work that we do with this, it's not to get anything out of it other than to help somebody else. So speak good things into your life. Be positive throughout the day. When things in your life are kind of, they're not great. Just kind of like start thinking about something positive. Man, this isn't where I want to be right now. Okay, well, let's figure out where you want to be. Just stop and say, all right, Lord, let's hit the reset button on this because this ain't it. So anyway, stick around. We're going to close it out here in just a moment. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to thank you once again for spending your time with me. I had a blast. I hope you had fun too. Hope you learned a few things. And before we leave, I just want to remind you, visit thefanboss.com for everything pertaining to the podcast show. You can also leave a message at 855-4-podcast. That's 855-4-podcast. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. Leave some recommendations, and maybe we'll play your clip on the air one day. We've got some pretty interesting messages so far. So y'all keep up the good work, man. Keep it coming. We enjoy it. The other thing I'd like for you to do is tell a friend, share the podcast, smash that like button, look around, and see anybody in your life that might benefit from the work that we're doing here, man, we're all about building and growing. And make sure you visit our sponsors, man. They're the lifeblood of what goes on around here. So make sure you visit with the sponsors, show them some love the way you have me, and I really appreciate every bit of support that I've received so far. You guys have been absolutely amazing, and thank you for my OGs that have been around from day one. Until next time, y'all be safe, and I'll see you next week.